Welcome back to Distant Gooner TV, people, the ultimate destination for Arsenal fans worldwide. Today we dive into the latest breaking story from Arsenal, finally the appointment, or at least the announcement, of Andrea Berta joining Arsenal FC from Atletico Madrid. I've got to say that this video has been in the offing for weeks, typically with Arsenal, and I don't know what it is, and there may be some legal reasons behind this, giving them some credit, but it always seems to be the case that something's happening. We're either going to sign somebody, whether it be a player or in this case a sporting director. It's widely reported, so you can kind of think 95% this deal has been done. Yet it just sits there and it turns into an assumed thing that's going to happen, but it's never really officially announced. So you're kind of like, well, is it? Is it not? It's really infuriating as a fan, and I'm sure you appreciate this. It's just... And it seems to always happen to Arsenal. This is why I point it out. It just seems to be we're always in this situation whereby we get a signing done, kind of, but then it takes fucking days, weeks potentially to actually come out and announce it. I do not know why. But anyway, here we are. I've held back on producing this video for that reason. But hey, it's out there now. It's official, finally. Please make sure you smash in that like button, subscribe to the channel for all of your Arsenal news. Let's get into it, people. Now let's talk about the man of the hour, Andrea Berta. Who is he and why he could be so pivotal for Arsenal moving forward? Andrea Berta is a highly respected figure in the world of football, known for his sharp eye in the transfer market and his ability to build competitive squads. Now his journey in football began in Italy in the lower league. He moved on to Parma in 2017, helping them secure promotion back to Serie A. His next step was Genoa, where he worked alongside, now I've got to pronounce this right, Gian Piero Gasparini, to establish the club as a consistent force in Serie A. But it was at Atletico Madrid, people, where he truly made his mark. He joined the Spanish Giants in 2013 as a technical director before being promoted to sporting director in 2017. During his time at Atletico, Berta has played a pivotal role in shaping the success of the team. They've won 2 La Liga titles, yes, 2 La Liga titles, and bearing in mind they're competing amongst the financial powerhouses that are Barcelona and Real Madrid, that's pretty impressive. They've won the Copa del Rey, a Europa League title, and a UEFA Super Cup. Now, he's been instrumental in some of their key major signings. So, just reeling off some of the names: Antoine Griezmann, Jan Oblak, Luis Suarez, to name a few. Players who went on and became cornerstones of that team and were instrumental in their success. His work actually earned him the prestigious Sporting Director of the Year award at the 2019 Globe Soccer Awards. Berta's reputation as a transfer guru, his ability to compete with clubs who have a much higher budget, make him an exciting addition to Arsenal. With his track record, of course, the hope is that he can bring that success to the Emirates and finally bring us some major honours. Now let's dive into Andrea Berta's transfer dealings, the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. Because to be fair, there's always going to be a mixed bag. Not all transfers are successful, of course, as we know. I think he's probably had more successes than he's had failures, but I think it's only fair that we go through them. There's no doubt that Berta's ability to spot and unearth hidden gems is outstanding. Take Jan Oblak, for example. He signed from Benfica for just about £30 million in 2014. He's been pivotal to their success really over the last few years. We all need a great goalkeeper, and he has been one of the world's best. Then there's Antoine Griezmann. Now they bought him in for £24 million from Real Sociedad. Fucking hell, man. How many players have they produced, by the way, Real Sociedad? Crazy. Not only did Griezmann deliver countless goals and countless assists, you know, in his prime he was a top player. Berta also then managed to sell him for in excess of £100 million to Barca, only to then bring him back for a fraction of the cost. There was that other masterstroke in Luis Suarez. So he purchased him from Barcelona, and some would say really at the end of his career. He signed him for just £5.5 million. Not 5.5 million and a penny, 5.5 million from Barcelona in 2020. Now, despite being written off by many, he was an outstanding success. And he fired them to the La Liga title in his debut season. Now, Berta's knack for maximising profits is also really, really impressive. And this is what I'm really interested in when he comes to Arsenal, because over the last few years, our transfer business, I think, has been abysmal, particularly when it comes to outgoings and actually maximising and profiting upon the squad. The key examples really being Griezmann's sale of 100 million to Barca. Rodri is another example, who was purchased for 20 million, who then went on to sign for Man City for, I believe, around 65 million pounds, making him one of the most profitable transfers in Atletico's history. No prizes for guessing who is potentially the worst signing that he's had. João Felix. Now, he was lauded years ago, wasn't he? I mean, he no doubt he's got ability, he's a fantastic talent, but it appears everywhere he's gone, he just has not fulfilled that potential. And of course, Atletico were the first ones that outlaid a massive amount of money. I think it was, 113 million? That has to go down as an epic failure of a transfer. We can't sugarcoat that, people. He struggled to adapt to Diego Simeone's system and was eventually loaned out multiple times before being sold, obviously, at a significant loss. And he's still floating around and being trawled around Europe to all different clubs. Similarly, Thomas Lemar. Do you remember Thomas Lemar? Do you remember that transfer window when he was about to step on the pitch for France and all of a sudden we had put in a bid of around £100 million for his services? How fucking ridiculous that was. Well, he ended up going to Madrid, and thank God he never came to us, because have you actually heard of him since? He was bought in for £58 million from Monaco, but of course he's just failed to live up to expectations. I mean, like I said, you don't hear of him at all, whether it be on club level, whether it be for France. He's just unheard of. I think it's fair to say that his transfer dealings overall just show the levels of risk that he is willing to take. And let's face it, we'll be hoping that he does bring that to the Emirates, because all too often we've been scraping the barrel, not willing to actually put the money out there for the players that we want, looking to really, hold back on the purse strings. So we need somebody to take some risks at this stage. Andrea Berta's transfer strategy is often described as a balance between calculated risk and financial prudence. Here are some key points to outline that perspective. Spotting undervalued talent. So examples of this would be Jan Oblak, Antoine Griezmann. At the time they didn't go for fantastic money, but he's turned them into world-class stars. Maximising outgoing transfers. Again, Antoine Griezmann going for 100 million plus. Rodri going for 62.5 million to Man City. Fantastic business coming back in from player sales. Balancing risk and reward. So whilst Berta, as we said, has had notable successes, we can't ignore the failures. But again, this comes down to this calculated risk approach. Now, if we'd have looked at the João Felix transfer, of course, you have to put it down as a failure. But this comes down to the risk that he was prepared to take. If we think about it, at the time, as an Arsenal fan, when João Felix was at Benfica, he was being lauded as one of the world's best up-and-coming talents. So I'd have snapped your hands off. If we were going to throw 100 million on the table for him, absolutely would have loved it. But of course, it didn't turn out. And let's face it, transfers don't always turn out. But that's part of the game, we have to take calculated risks sometimes. Adapting to budget constraints. Well, this has Arsenal written all over it, doesn't it? And particularly the KSC ownership. They love a fucking financial budget, so hopefully, and I think that's part of what they've seen in Berta, is the fact that he's been prudent in the market. He clearly has made some fantastic, shrewd business, and he's punched above his weight. Like we've said earlier, he's competing with the financial powerhouses in La Liga of Barcelona, of Real Madrid, and he's still built a competitive squad that was able to compete in all competitions, and not only compete but actually win those competitions. Strategic vision. There's no doubt that Berta's appointment is seen as a fresh perspective for Arsenal, so it will be interesting to see how the dynamics play out between Arteta's vision and Andrea Berta's vision. So one of the biggest question marks around Andrea Berta's appointments, or questions should I say, not necessarily question marks, but is his relationship and what that will be with Mikel Arteta. The good news is that both men seem to share a clear vision of Arsenal's future. Arteta has mentioned his excitement on Berta's arrival. He's talked about his pedigree, praising his charisma, straightforward personality, and most importantly, a winning mentality. Berta in turn has also shown enthusiasm for joining Arsenal in this pivotal period, emphasising his desire to help us achieve major honours. So the partnership could be a game changer. I don't necessarily buy into this rhetoric that I've heard people, particularly online, talk about, where Arteta wants to surround himself by yes men, and they point to the likes of Aubameyang and instances like that. But he was appointed by Edu. As any manager would do, they would surround himself with staff that he would want in play. So I think it's a bit harsh. I don't see that there's kind of any particular agenda, and that he can't take criticism or anything like that. So I hope that this relationship blossoms, and they can hopefully balance each other. Arteta's tactical acumen, as well as bringing through the young players, combine that with Berta's experience within the transfer market and his recruitment and squad building, it could be a brilliant combination and really take us to that next level. However, it's worth noting, I think Berta will need to adapt, of course, to Arsenal's unique structure where the sporting director works closely with the manager. I don't know in terms of Atletico whether they had that strong relationship, him and Diego Simeone. I'm sure they had a great relationship, but I mean a working relationship. What were the clear lines of responsibility for each person? I think it's more collaborative at Arsenal, so it'd be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. As for Berta's first bit of business, well, we all know it's got to be a striker. Whether it will or not, who knows? The rest of the world believe it should be a striker. That should be the first thing that he looks at. All signs point to a summer transfer market that will be busy for Arsenal. I mean, when have we heard this before? A number of times. But I would like to believe with this guy coming in, I think it has to be. Now, with Berta's track record at signing top talent, perhaps it is time to get excited, Josh? Possibly? Could we see marquee signings finally at Arsenal? Only time will tell. And the striker list will be interesting in terms of who Andrea Berta looks at. There's a number of rumours flying around, and let's look at a few of those now. Alexander Isak. We've talked about him forever. Newcastle forward, reportedly Mikel Arteta's dream signing. Of course, we know he's got great technical ability. He's proven in the Premier League. He's got pace. Could be an ideal fit for Arsenal, but he's going to come at a cost, a very, very expensive cost. Victor Gyökeres. Now, I've talked about him on a previous video. Personally, he would be my preference. I think he's just like the all-round striker package. Pace, strength, technical ability, direct, scores goals, scores a shitload of goals. He would absolutely be my pick, but whether that could be a deal that gets done, who knows? It certainly comes at a cheaper cost than Isak. Benjamin Sesko. Now, we remember the saga all in January and last summer, to be honest. We were still talking about this player then. The reports are that this summer he will definitely be going. He's got this gentlemanly agreement in place whereby he will leave for, looking at probably about the 70 mil mark. I'm not too sure about him, guys, to be fair. I mean, I've seen probably as much as you have in terms of the online videos. Saw him in the Euros. Wasn't particularly impressed with him there either. He wouldn't be one of my go-to targets personally. Adrian Nino. Now, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He's the young striker at Atletico Madrid. Now, he's been compared to the likes of Fernando Torres, Antoine Griezmann even, and Berta rates him very, very highly and could consider him as part of a long-term project. So that will be an interesting one, guys. But these players, they represent a range of profiles, promising upcoming talents to proven performers, giving Arsenal flexibility in terms of strengthening their forward line in this transfer market. So what's the chances that Andrea Berta can finally give us what we need at Arsenal Football Club? Getting us winning major honours. Getting us competing at the highest level in Europe. His track record speaks volumes, to be fair. It does. It's impressive. Either way you look at it, and he's fucking winning awards for sporting director. So he's obviously doing something right. What really is telling, I guess, with this is that he's clearly got an ability to find and unearth talent, being prudent with the money, which clearly is going to sell himself to our ownership. But, you know, he's been successful in doing it. And a key thing, like we've said, is he's punching above his weight. So, you know, he's been in La Liga, and Atletico Madrid are competing with Real Madrid and Barcelona. So that gives me some hope that, you know, whilst the disparity between those clubs may be different in this league, because Man City are probably, you know, financially well ahead of everybody else. However, it still does give me hope that he can come in and we can compete with them even more so than we're doing now, because clearly we are doing now to a point. Certainly this season, it's just getting to that next level, isn't it? It's getting us to actually win something, you know. And I'm confident. I really am confident that this is a really shrewd move. I just hope that, as I say, the dynamics in terms of the way they work together is positive for the club. So I'm not saying that they always need to agree, because that's not the way this should work. But however, success in football is never guaranteed. So, you know, the Premier League is different to La Liga. Of course it is. But I think that real key question is whether he can work seamlessly with Arteta. I say that more so that they can complement each other and ultimately get us competing on all fronts. The hope is that with his winning mentality, though, and clearly his sharp eye for talent, that he propels us to this next level. Perhaps he's the missing piece of our jigsaw puzzle. One thing's for sure, we're going to be watching closely the work that he does, particularly in the summer. There's going to be a massive focus on him and on the club. So, yeah, perhaps it's time to get excited. As always, people, let me know your thoughts about the video, anything that we've discussed. Are you pleased with the appointment? Would you prefer somebody else, somebody potentially that was kind of linked with the club? Thomas Rosicky was clearly mentioned before. Let me know your thoughts. And again, please make sure you're smashing the like button, subscribing to Distant Gooner TV, where we're bringing you all of the Arsenal news coming forward, wherever you are in the world. Great to have you here. Thanks for watching.